Hello Fire Tech 101 students. In this video we are going to cover the PowerPoint presentation for Chapter 9, Fire and Emergency Services Apparatus, Equipment, and Facilities. And this is going to be the voice narration of the PowerPoint, so let's get started. Okay, so some of our learning objectives: we're going to identify common fire department apparatus. We're going to identify common fire and emergency services uniforms, and then PPE, or personal protective clothing. Identify common fire and emergency services breathing apparatus. The most popular one is SCOT, the SCOT pack, which is the video that you'll do, supplemental video quiz on the SCOT pack. Also MSA is another one, another company that is becoming more popular in the fire service. Identifying common fire and emergency services tools and equipment. So again, we're looking like the biggest ones that you're going to look at are your engine companies and your truck companies. So we'll look at tools that go along with those. Compare and contrast the characteristics of fire and emergency services ropes, webbing, related hardware and harnesses. So what do we use that for? It's used very heavily in the urban search and rescue, or USAR, realm of the fire service, but we use it for raising and lowering. We use it for tying off. So there's a lot of things that you're going to use ropes for. Also, ropes and knots are going to be an area of the academy that you'll have pretty heavy. You'll learn several ropes and knots. How do we work safely with ground ladders? The purpose of fire hose nozzles, and then hose appliances. An appliance is something that water goes through, and then also tools. And then finally, we're going to describe some of the common fire department facilities. Okay, common fire department apparatus. So these apparatus are designed to perform specific functions at emergency incidents. The most common ones that you see are the engine company. Engines have water, they have hose on them, along with their other complement of tools. And you see ladder companies. Ladder companies, if you see a large truck with somebody driving the back, that's called a tiller truck. Most of those do not have water. There is the capability of plumbing an elevated water source, typically by running a hose up the ladder and elevating that for a defensive fire. Those are the biggest ones you're going to see, and we'll focus there. So they may perform only one major function or could be multifunctional. Most of our apparatus are multifunctional here locally in the fire service. Some of the new technologies, manufacturers are going to update and improve our fire apparatus. So there's some of the newest things that you see are carrying the self-contained breathing apparatus outside of the cab. The cab is where we sit. That was one big increase. Improvements include additional safety measures and functionality for the vehicle and onboard equipment. So the compartments are changing. How we outfit our compartments, those change to store our equipment more efficiently and effectively. Increasing our fuel efficiency and operational readiness. You also see like electric vehicles are coming. Still, most of what you see are diesel engines. The availability of technologies are going to depend on the manufacturers, and then the authority having jurisdiction. So what is needed? What that means is we'll spec our apparatus. So what we do is we design the apparatus with the vendors. Obviously, there's a process to go through to select a vendor. So you'll design the apparatus, you'll give them the specs of what you want, and then they will create the apparatus for you. Most of the apparatus are similar, but they're not always the same. Okay. Apparatus advancements, auxiliary power units, or APUs. These provide heating, air conditioning, and electrical power while the apparatus is off. So a lot of places will have a no idling policy. Typically your fire departments are exempt from that, but it can provide power while your apparatus engine is not running. Alternative fuel vehicles, these can reduce emissions, oil consumption, and operating costs. Largely, we still use diesel engines, but there are some alternative fuel vehicles that are out there. Apparatus rollover protection, large airbags within the passenger compartment that protect our personnel in case of a rollover, and then connected vehicle technology. So sensors attached to the apparatus, subsystems that connect to monitoring control units. We have several different things like AVLs, or vehicle locators on these apparatus. There's other sensors that are on these apparatus, or other subsystems that you have. Apparatus communications hubs, Wi-Fi hotspots that enable personnel that track vehicles. So our vehicles are tracked. They're tracked through our dispatch. Can track the vehicles. Like I said, you have vehicle locators, and then also we have internet capabilities within our vehicles. Those run our vehicles. All right. Wireless communications allow personnel to remain in constant contact. We don't have wireless communications yet. All of our communications on our apparatus are plugged in. Vehicle collision avoidance technology, traffic preemption system, which allows responding apparatus to change the traffic signals while they're en route. It's also referred to as an opticom. So you might hear that. That will change the signal if the cities or authorities having jurisdiction place those in operation on their traffic signals. And then UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, drones. We use those to gather information at incidents. So those are becoming more and more prevalent. A pumping apparatus or an engine, also referred to as a pumper. These are the most common fire apparatus. The job of these apparatus or the personnel on them is to establish water supply from a hydrant into the apparatus and then get water from the apparatus to the fire, right? So we're going to confine and extinguish fires with water delivered through our hose system. So we have supply lines that come in from the hydrants into the vehicles and attack lines that go from the vehicles to our fire, right? So they maintain a certain volume and a certain pressure. And these should meet the NFPA 1901 standard in the US and ULC standard in Canada. Pump capacities, they're measured in GPMs, so gallons per minute, and the normal range is 750 to 2000 GPMs. We have a series of gauges. This is what's called a pump panel. This picture here to the left is commonly referred to as a pump panel. You have a series of gauges and controls, and you have inlets and discharges as well. So gauges and controls are provided to aid the driver operator in controlling the pressure and volume of water, and these usually have an onboard tank ranging from 500 to 1500 gallons. The tank may be used to begin a fire attack before the pumper is connected to an external water supply. So depending on the conditions as we come in, you may do what we call lay-in, which is you stop at a hydrant, you grab a hydrant, and you establish a water supply coming in. You can deploy your hose lines for fire attack, get water, and then have a supply line established, but you want to make sure that you have a water supply. These may feature an additional tank for special extinguishing agents. So you can use different classes of foam, and so there may be foam tanks on there as well. The hose bed is where your hose are laying down. Okay, so our hose are stacked. Here you see your transverse hose loads. So what's called loading hose is when the hose is loaded into those hose beds, and then you also have the length of the apparatus as well. All right, so these are just behind the cab, and then you have the bed of the apparatus, and you have a lot of times you'll have supply line. We have supply line back there that split the majority of the bed, and then we have a couple of attack lines that come off the back. They carry different sizes of hose. Fire attack lines may be pre-connected to the pump where you just pull the discharge, or if they're not pre-connected, then somebody has to connect it to a discharge. And then you have a pre-attached nozzle to aid in rapid deployment. So most of our attack lines have nozzles attached to it already. Not all of them are hooked up. The ones that come off the back of the apparatus are not necessarily hooked up to a discharge. The ones that come off the side, the transverse, those are connected to a discharge. NFPA 1901 provides information on the minimum hose size and length requirements for pumping apparatus, so you'll want to follow those. Again, not everybody has pre-connect, so you just want to get familiar with wherever you're going to be working. Some of the equipment that we carry ground ladders, a small complement of ground ladders, usually one ladder that's 20 or 24 foot, an extension ladder, and then also a straight ladder, which would be a roof ladder, and then an attic ladder. So those are the three main ones that you'll find on a pumper. We carry forcible entry tools, nozzles, hose adapters, and appliances, and then everybody has an SCBA as well. We have hose tools. We got to connect our fittings, got to connect our nozzles. So we have tools that we can utilize to do that. Every apparatus, you're going to find a fire extinguisher or portable fire extinguishers. There's a minimum requirement for those. We have pike poles, salvage covers. Salvage covers are tarps, essentially, that are used to help minimize damage when we do attack a fire. A pike pole is just a large pole, usually used for pulling ceiling, so that we can find fire in the attic. And then medical equipment. All of our apparatus carry medical equipment. You'll find that pretty much all of the fire departments in Southern California are the firefighters are all EMT trained to a minimum, and so pretty much every apparatus is going to have medical equipment. Some specialized equipment, rescue and extrication tools, those we carry on our truck companies. Power saws, we do carry a rotary saw on our engine companies. Our engine companies that are assigned to strike teams, meaning they get deployed to wildland assignments, they'll have chainsaws as well. Ventilation fans, some of our engine companies will have what we call a box fan or an electric fan, but it does need a source of electricity for it in order to start it up. And then portable water tanks for water shuttles. We don't have that. We will typically, if we water shuttle, we'll have one engine just go fill up and they'll give the water from their tank to the other engines. Some smaller apparatus. What you see here is very similar to what we call like a Type 6. So your Type 1 engines are what you typically will see driving around your neighborhoods. Your Type 3 and your Type 6 are other very common types of engines that you'll see. They're smaller. The Type 3 and Type 6 are more utilized in rural areas or the wildland environment. They are coming out with what they call fast response vehicles or rapid response vehicles, and they're smaller, smaller units like you see in the picture here, and it actually allows for additional staffing so that you can kind of minimize some of the call volume or distribute some of the call volume. These may be used for smaller or more confined incidents, deployed for initial attack on a larger fire. They can reduce fuel costs, wear on larger, and reduce the cost on reduce the cost on our larger Type 1 apparatus or our more expensive apparatus. Some other names: mini pumper, midi pumper, quick attack apparatus, rapid intervention vehicles, quick response vehicles, fast response vehicles. So those are all different names you may hear. Operation of quick attack apparatus. So it may have a crew of 2 to 5. Some of those smaller fast response, quick response, a lot of times you're going to just have 2. On the Type 3 engines that are going to go out in the wildland, typically you're going to have 3 to 4, and the Type 6 you're typically going to have 3, possibly 4. Often built on a pickup truck chassis with custom bodies. They usually have a pump that goes to at least 250 GPM, and they have a smaller tank, but they have like a booster tank about 200 gallons. They have similar equipment as a larger apparatus, but just not as much of an equipment cache or equipment inventory. These as well, since all of our personnel are trained to the EMT level, are going to have medical equipment. Depending on your staffing, if you have 2 paramedics on these, you might have ALS equipment along with BLS. If you don't have ALS staffing or paramedic staffing on there, you might have just BLS equipment on there. These may feature a master stream appliance that can be positioned easily into an effective attack position. Master stream appliance is basically a device that's going to deliver a large amount of water, all right, like a larger nozzle. Okay, so that you see, sometimes you'll see them on the top of the engines, or you'll see your trucks with a nozzle tip at the top. They'll establish a water supply on those, and those will be your master stream. Apparatus with compressed air foam systems. So these have a standard centrifugal pump that supplies water, uses a a direct injection proportioning system. So what that means is the foam comes in and it mixes with water, and it's got the right proportion in order to make the foam.